much for joining us today. I'm going to, let me attempt to share my screen, which for some reason is always a challenge for me. I hope you can see that there. Let me start just by saying a huge, huge thank you to those of you who applied for the Frederick Douglass Global Fellowship this year. As you may have heard, we received 709 applications from just outstanding students like you. And it was such a joy for the staff at CIEE to review them. And we say thank you because you really lifted us up and inspired so many of us with your stories of how you are already changing the world. So just know that you are fabulous, and we sincerely hope that we can help you follow through on your desire to explore the world, because the world needs to see fabulous people like yourselves. On our agenda today, we're going to talk about funding for the summer and for future semesters. I'll share a few examples of where you can study abroad this summer. And Quentin Redcliffe, affectionately known as Papa Q, is our Director of Diversity Inclusion, and he'll share a few words of welcome with you. And then the best part is we'll have a panel discussion with some amazing students who have studied abroad or are studying abroad right now, who can answer some of your questions. But let's start with funding, because I know that that is the main barrier for many of us to take part in these kinds of opportunities. So allow me to share first what some of our summer scholarship opportunities are. There's that $1,500 scholarship that I'm sure you all know about now, which can be applied towards any summer program, providing the application deadline has not passed. In addition to that, if you are a recipient of the Pell Grant, then you can also receive a $500 travel grant that can be used towards airfare. That could cover your whole flight, depending on where you go. I just bought a flight to Lisbon for about $400. Granted, it was before the summer peak season, but there could be some deals out there. You need to apply, though, for that scholarship by April 15th. The application is super short. You just have to submit your FAFSA, I can say that word, that form, and you're good to go, but you just need to do that by April 15th. And once your application is created, you can do so. But that still leaves the rest of the program fee to pay. And many of our programs for summer cost between $4,000 and $5,000. So that still leaves a significant price tag. Where can you find the rest of the funds that you'll need? First, talk to your study abroad office. They might have some funds, since not a lot of people went abroad this year, or they may have additional scholarships that you could be aware of. Maybe they don't, but you don't know unless you ask. So the first place to go is your study abroad office and find out more information about the resources that they have available. Secondly is fundraising. Many students have had success with this. You can do an online fundraising campaign, for example, using a tool like GoFundMe. Another idea I heard recently was to make a list of 25 people who you could ask for $50 to $100. Think of all those people that gave you a graduation gift, for example, that might want to contribute to your experience abroad. Or ask your church, or your fraternity or sorority, or a local business, or a civic group. You now have this fabulous video that you can show to all of them to show that you are a Frederick Douglass scholar who has a partial scholarship and you're looking for additional assistance to help you realize your dream to study abroad. And lastly, we at CIEE are trying to raise some funds for you as well. For example, we have reached out to the presidents of your universities already, and we're planning to reach out to some individual donors as well. We may not be successful, but we're trying. And we have already have 30 schools who have agreed to match the grant for their recipients. So you may want to inquire about that. But in any case, it doesn't hurt to just complete the survey that is now a part of your application and start an application just in case. Now, if you do get the program fee together, it's useful to know what that will cover. It covers your tuition, your housing, pre-departure advising. We can pick you up at the airport if you like. There is an orientation when you arrive. There's a full-time staff to greet you and support you once you are there. There's typically a field trip included as well. And of course, insurance to cover you while you're there. Now, if you're interested in going abroad for the semester, and I really hope you are, because I always say the longer the better. Frederick Douglass went to Ireland for 4 months, not just for 4 weeks. So if you can go for a semester, I hope that you'll consider that option. There's also more financial aid available for the semester than there is for the summer. So a few examples: the Frederick Douglass Scholars Grant, of course, can now be applied for the fall or the spring. We have a scholarship for students who attend historically Black colleges, Hispanic serving institutions, Asian American serving institutions, and Native American and tribal colleges, otherwise known as MSIs. And that scholarship is $2,000 for the semester. We have a scholarship called the Go Gilman. I'll talk about the Gilman in a second. But if you apply for it and you didn't receive it, if you just applied for it, you can receive $2,500 for the semester. There's that travel grant I talked about earlier. If you go for a semester, that increases to $1,000. If you consider going to Copenhagen, London, or Rome in the fall, we have quite a substantial scholarship for $97.50 for those destinations on our open campus program in those locations. Can tell you more about that if you like. A Founders Grant, it's $37.50 for these new programs that we're offering in Dublin, Kyoto, Singapore, and Sydney. So if those destinations are of interest, please apply for the Founders Grant. And lastly, we also have some merit-based awards of varying descriptions, which you can find on our website. And those are usually about $2,500. Now for the fall 2022 semester, if you do want to go abroad then, please note that April 1st is the deadline for many of those programs, for summer and for fall, for many of those scholarships, excuse me, for summer and fall. Other sources of aid for the semester: there's institutional aid. If you are receiving financial aid at your own institution, depending on where you go, granted, you may be able to apply that aid towards a study abroad program as well. There's a scholarship called the Gilman that I mentioned before. This is offered by the Department of State, and it's for students who exhibit financial need. Again, it's Pell recipients who are eligible for that. And there you can earn up to $5,000. The Fund for Education Abroad is another source of funding. Their award amounts range from, I believe, $2,000 to $5,000. The Critical Language Scholarship is a full scholarship for those students who are interested in learning some of the languages that are considered critical to public diplomacy efforts. So the languages that are qualify are listed there: Persian, Punjabi, Swahili, Turkish, Japanese, Chinese, Arabic, and Korean. We can help you out with studying Korean, Arabic, Chinese, and Japanese. The other languages, you'd have to go elsewhere, but a wonderful opportunity to be aware of. There's the Boren Scholarship, again, for those who are prioritizing language acquisition. That's up to $25,000 for a year, a bit less for the semester. And lastly, the Freeman Asia Scholarship, which is for those interested in going to Asia, obviously, which is up to $5,000. So a few examples, going back to summer, of some options that are available in the summer. Again, you can do any program, but if you're interested in studying social justice or even Frederick Douglass, here are some options for you. Transatlantic Crossing, sorry, I misspelled that, in Accra in Ghana. And they actually do a segment on Frederick Douglass's journey to Ireland and the impact that it had on him. Our signature course at CIEE is Intercultural Communication and Leadership, which is obviously focused on those two skills. And that is offered in Barcelona, as well as in other locations like Amsterdam, Amman, Rabat, and Tokyo. There's Art and Activism in Madrid, Race and Ethnicity in Amsterdam, or A Season of Protest in Cape Town, South Africa. Again, these are just a sample of some of the programs that you can go on this summer. And there's more details about them on our website. And the gentleman who actually designed that last course and does many, many other things at CIEE, Quentin Redcliffe, I'm going to invite now to share a few words with you. Quentin?
Thank you very much, Stacey. Just want to greet you all and welcome you. It's really so good just to be a part of this exciting opportunity. I am so glad that Stacey's putting this together and also assembled such a great group of panelists that can share some of their experience. Both Stacey and I have just been so excited about the opportunity for the Frederick Douglass Global Fellow, Global Scholars, and the joy of what it could mean to participate in one of our programs. So over the years, I've taught the ICL, as it's called, or the Intercultural Communication and Leadership course, which is a fantastic course. And the more I think about the course and its ability to have you think about your own culture, which is very diverse as well, and because you travel with that culture, right? So you get to another destination and you see similar things, and so you assume, like I do, when I visit other places, oh, that's possibly how things are done because I'm so used to doing that and that's normal. But then you begin to realize, oh, okay, hold on. So this is what I'm bringing here to this experience. And then you begin to learn a little bit about your host culture. And then you begin to think about some of the intercultural moments, but also some of the intercultural conflicts that take place. And then trying to learn some bridging techniques of how to bridge some of those intercultural moments. I also teach, I didn't design the course though, Stacy, it was designed by another professor, and I taught it, interestingly enough, I taught it at the summer just at the time where George Floyd was murdered. And so the course looked at protest in South Africa and then also in the US. And so it was really a comparison and a contrast with a focus on the Rhodes Must Fall movement or the Fees Must Fall movement in South Africa, as well as the Black Lives Matter movement in the US, but then also globally. And so it was really great to have some South African students together with some US students participate in this course. And that was really a great opportunity for sharing ideas and learning about forms of protest and then just some of the similarities and then difference. But the great thing about it for me, and I think, you know, as you begin to visit other places and begin to learn about protests or marginalized communities, it's this global solidarity in the same way that you would have experienced global solidarity in relation to the murder of George Floyd, where people were able to rally behind and support that. And so you see that in still today in a number of different spaces, like for example, with the English Football League or the Premier League, where they still take the knee. So, I mean, I'm really excited for you. There's just so many great courses. We have some wonderful staff that you can engage with as well. And so please find, you know, the money to make this possible, this experience possible. And so, yeah, hopefully I get to meet some of you later. Thanks, Stacy.
Thank you, Papa Q. You make me want to go to Cape Town right now and take that course. Well, you know, I want to come back desperately. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And now the part I'm really excited about is that I get to hear from these amazing students who have been abroad fairly recently. And I wonder if we can just start. Oops, sorry. If we could start just by giving a brief introduction, who you are, where you went to school or going to school, and where you studied abroad, and anything else you might want to say. Could we start with Michaela?
Hi, everyone. I am Michaela Zeno, a graduating senior journalism and media studies major from New Orleans, Louisiana. I actually attend Bennett College in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I studied abroad in Berlin, Germany.
Thank you, Michaela. Markel.
Hello, everyone. My name is Markel Kelly. I am a junior international studies major at Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm currently studying abroad in Lisbon, Portugal.
Thank you for joining us all the way from Lisbon, although you were in Spain at the moment, but I appreciate you being here. Ariana.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ariana Ray. I'm from Long Island, New York. I attended North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, also in Greensboro. I'm currently a personal trainer, and I studied in Ghana, West Africa at the University of Ghana.
Thank you, Ariana. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm going to start with that burning question that's been the focus so far about funding. and hoping you can address where you found the funds to go abroad, or if there's any scholarships that you're aware of that you would recommend.
I could go first. So I actually applied for the Gilman Scholarship. I received that my junior year and was supposed to study abroad that summer, but COVID messed that up. So they allowed me to carry the funds until my senior year. And I actually received $5,000, the total amount. So that pretty much covered my entire trip. I only studied abroad for 6 weeks. So my total, I think, was about 5,950, I believe. But I had also applied to be a Frederick Douglass scholar, which I did not, but you know, if you do apply, you also receive 1,500 from CIEE. So I had that funds available as well. So I used all of that to cover my total cost of studying abroad.
Thank you, Michaela. Markel, I know you're quite the whiz at finding money to study abroad, not just on this program, but others. So please share.
Yeah, I think on the last slide, you listed a lot of the good scholarships, of course, just like Michaela said, the Gilman Scholarship. I was awarded, same thing like her, but, you know, COVID happened, so couldn't use it. But am currently using it now. Well, gonna use it in May, another program, but I applied, and then you apply and you're doing like a critical language, they give you an extra $2,000. So you're guaranteed to get the 5,000, but you can get another portion if you're like studying Portuguese, Persian, the other language that you listen. Also, a lot of our schools have like the study abroad offices, and they have money in those offices for you, so they can always help you with helping you get a passport or any fees you need for like the airport or vaccination fees and stuff like that. So always ask your offices like that. Or you can just like type in Google, just like I do, scholarship study abroad, and it's 1,000 scholarships just for you being a person who writes with your right hand, or of course being a minority. So just use Google. I also worked a lot. I love to work. So fall semester, I worked the whole semester, and it saved all my money so that I would be able to not only study abroad, but travel while I'm in Europe. So just be very resourceful and also plan ahead is what I would say.
Thank you, Markel. Ariana, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I agree with Michaela and Markel. Last thing he said was plan ahead. And I think that's like the best advice, because I was that person who was debating like February if I was going or not. And I didn't really plan ahead. So what I found myself doing was going to the financial office at my university and asking and keeping your mouth open to your churches, to the Office of Financial Aid, and just literally saying, I want to study abroad this. And I was going for a semester, so I was there for about 6 months. I want to go to study abroad for a semester. Please, I want to find, because there's some scholarships or aid that you can get from the financial aid office that they don't really tell you about, like in desperate need. One of the financial aid officers was telling me about financial aid that wasn't used for students in general. And luckily I had my mouth open, so I was granted that. So just look for ways, don't be last minute like me, plan ahead.
Thank you. Wise words indeed. Appreciate that. Could you talk about how you decided to pick the particular program that you selected and the destination that you chose? Can we start with Michaela again?
Sure. So I actually was not supposed to end up in Berlin, Germany. Like I mentioned, COVID kind of messed things up for me. I was supposed to study abroad in Prague over the summer before my senior year. And because of the rates and how fast COVID was going, that was changed. So I was able to study abroad the start of my senior year, and I was supposed to go to Madrid. And then again, because I was a Gilman Scholar, we had to follow certain rules, and there were certain levels to where you could visit to your $5,000 going to that. And for me, I had to follow those rules because I needed the $5,000 to study abroad. So last minute, I found Berlin. They were a level 2, everything was covered. So I reached out to them as soon as possible. And they told me, you know, they had space, they understand my circumstances. And I was honestly like, you can just put me in whatever classes are available, because I wanted to study abroad. Like, I wasn't going to let anything stop me. So that's how I ended up in Berlin. I studied there for 6 weeks, only for one block, because I did need to get back to school to take some classes to graduate. And I actually ended up taking international marketing and intercultural communication and leadership.
Nice. I so admire your perseverance and making that happen. Also, before I forget, I just have to let everybody know, Michaela has this fantastic YouTube channel. I am a fan. I encourage you to follow her and see some of the wonderful videos that she's done about her time in Berlin. Markel, can you tell us how you selected your program?
Yeah, I want to first start saying, like, Michaela made a great point. Don't let anything stop you, especially now with, you know, COVID and all the restrictions and people saying, are you sure you want to study abroad? If you have the passion to leave the country and learn a language or learn about a different culture, I think you should definitely go all in, and don't let anything stop you. I was supposed to be in Lisbon 3 semesters ago, but COVID, yeah, was just messing everything up. But I have a passion to learn Portuguese and be like a United States ambassador in a Portuguese speaking country, preferably Mozambique or Angola. So coming to Portugal was like almost like either Portugal or Brazil, because they just speak Portuguese, but Brazil was closed because of COVID. So that's why I chose Portugal. I will also say, when choosing your country, definitely look at like the classes. I'm also taking intercultural communication in Portugal and Brazilian cinema. So I'm able to kind of like even have that touch with Brazil. So those are all reasons that I, chose Portugal.
Thank you, Markel. Ariana?
At North Carolina A&T, and I think with any HBCU, we all have to take a African American Studies class. And my junior year of college, I had taken one, and I fell in love with all the history that I did not know about myself and Africa, all parts of Africa. So when I'm not gonna lie, another moment of transparency, when I first initially, please forgive me, but I was doing West African dance, and my teachers had kept saying, like, you need to study abroad, like you have to go out of the US, because that's how you're really gonna learn. And they kept pressing me about it, that I made up a lie, and I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna go to Africa next year. And it was a lie initially, and then it became more realistic after that class. When I went to the study abroad office, I said, where in Africa can I go? And they were like, Cape Town, Kenya, Ghana. And she took a long pause when she said Ghana. She was like, then she repeated it, Ghana. And I said, well, what is it about Ghana? I want to know. And she said, it's really different. Like, I hear so much about it, the food, the culture, the community, the history that's there. And I said, well, then I'm going to Ghana. And that's that.
Are you breaking Papa Q's heart now, though?
Oh, sorry, Papa Q. Sorry.
No. I mean, I love Ghana. I mean, I love being for people to the scholars to travel on the continent. I mean, it's wonderful. The other great thing as well is, is that Ghana is 45.6% cheaper in terms of cost of living than the US, and so those are other things to think about as well. I'm not sure if you have a question related to that as well, Stacey, in terms of, tips for how to, kind of manage your finances while you're on at a site that may be a little more expensive, but yeah, just great. It sounds wonderful.
Well, that's a very good question. Let's ask that question about managing finances while you are abroad. Does anyone care to address that one?
I guess I can start. I have a lot of money issues and managing money. But I think what teaches you to really sit down and like say, okay, I gotta watch how I spend my money is when you have no money. Because it was a couple of times when I was in Panama, and I was like, I was doing this, I was eating out every day, all this stuff, and I looked at my accounts like, oh wow, I spent a lot of money just in 1 week. And I was like, and I have like 4 more months here. This is not smart. So I would say definitely if you choose to stay with the host family, which I think most of the programs that allow you to stay with the host family, that is a cheaper option. You don't have to, buy your own groceries. Food is included. So that's definitely one. And also just like you don't have to eat lunch out every day. You can make a sandwich. I mean, I know sometimes we want to be prestigious and eat at some nice restaurants, but I think sometimes if you want to take trips, like me being in Spain right now, you have to learn to like kind of balance it out. I think another good thing is just choosing what is like a priority of yours. Like for instance, like if I'm in Lisbon, if I'm studying abroad in Portugal, it's no reason why I need to be going to a European country every other week. There's just no reason. I'm here to learn about the culture and the language. That's why you went to that country. Now, I'm not saying you don't have to, you can't leave, you can. It's definitely an opportunity. It's very cheap to travel in Europe, but also just take advantage and just sit in that country for a minute before you start going out, and that'll help you save a lot of money.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else want to respond to that question? All righty, we'll move on to the next one, which is what advice would you give to students of color who are planning to go to your destination or who about studying abroad in general? Should we start with Markel? I'm putting you on the spot. I apologize.
No, that's fine. That's a great question. I studied abroad in Eastern Europe right after high school, which was not a lot of Black people of color for miles, or I think I only seen like 2 Black people, and I was there for a year. So if you go to like some countries you're gonna go to, you're gonna experience some racism, you're gonna experience some issues, and I guess the best advice is to always go back to why you're studying abroad and why is it so meaningful for you, and to not focus too much on the negative. I told myself when I came to Portugal that I was going in not expecting anything. I just had 2 goals, and that was to learn the language and learn about the culture. I didn't have any good expectations or bad expectations. That's like when you go in and those expectations are not met, then you're more likely to be disappointed. So just breathe, but also CIE does good at, for instance, with the coordinators in the country. If anything ever happens or you feel uncomfortable, you can always go talk to them. Like my coordinators, Louisa and Joanna, sometimes they'll just ask her, "No, Mark, are you okay? Like, is it okay?" And I know exactly what they mean because it's only like 2 other Black people in the program. So also CIE really takes it seriously. But yeah, I think you just have to really communicate and breathe, I would say.
Communicate and breathe. Yes, 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 yes. Michaela or Ariana, would you like to address that question?
I can address. I would say to have an open mind, and I'm saying that from my complete personal experience because I've been having ups and downs, especially because of COVID. So the entire time of switching programs and trying to find somewhere to go, I honestly just wanted to study abroad. So that's kind of what I carried with me. And especially when I ended up telling people that, oh, I'm actually going to Berlin now. The first thing they would tell me was, are you sure? There's not that many Black people there. And that wasn't really something I thought about because I went to a predominantly white school for like 10 years of my life. So being one of the only Black people or a few Black people, that wasn't anything new to me. And I especially wasn't going to let that stop me from studying abroad, like having this once in a lifetime opportunity. This is something I really want to do. So whatever I have to do to get there, I'm going to do that. So I was very kind of nervous. But when I got there, it was fine. I was actually the only Black person in the program, but no one treated me differently. Like I had no problems when I was out there. And the area that the CIE Institute is actually in for Berlin is a very diverse area. So I actually saw more Black people than I actually thought I would. So it was like, this is fine. One of my RAs, she was also Black. They also had like a Black and brown community. So if we ever wanted to go somewhere in Berlin to kind of feel welcomed, you had that. So there was never a time where I felt alone. And I just kind of said yes to everything or tried everything, because if I didn't, who knows what my turnout would have been. So I would say just go into the situation with an open mind.
Thank you. That's really helpful. I was also surprised by how many Black people there were in Berlin. It's like, oh, and it's a reminder that there's communities of color everywhere, even if it's smaller than we're used to. So Ariana, your experience is obviously different, having gone to an African country, but you're going as an African-American. So I'm wondering if you can speak to that.
I would definitely say that when it comes to mixing what Michaela and Markel said, reminding yourself why you decided to go, and then having that open mind to try new things. I know when I came to Ghana, I was excited because I was like, oh, I'm about to be around people of the diaspora. And I thought that they were going to embrace me, which they did. But then there were times where I experienced like uncomfortable standpoints, I would say, because I really, I'm African American, but I didn't think that was much different than being African. And a lot of times, depending on a lot of people have different experiences. The reason why I feel like I had a different experience than my friends, because I came in curious. And I would say remain curious, because if you go in thinking that you know everything, or you go in thinking kind of what we've learned here in the US about outside cultures, if you go in thinking that, it'll kind of create barriers for you not to learn. So I would say, even though I was in a country where I thought I would be more accepted, I really had to literally open myself up to trying new things and accepting everything. I told Stacy, I called last year, our first night, came to Ghana. I knew I was gonna be there for 5 months. The lights and the water shut off. Now, I will tell you, 3 people went, not from CIE, but 3 people went right back to the US after that.
Wow.
Yes. Went right back to the US, but coming there, like, whatever happens, I'm going to accept it. I'm going to take off my American shoes and live as if I was born here. That allowed me to learn the language. That allowed me to accept the food. That allowed me to come back to the US and connect with the Ghanaian culture now. Like I connect with some Ghanaians here, and they're trying to get me to go back to Ghana to teach dance workout classes. Like, and immersing yourself and being open-minded and accepting the culture will allow you to live it out. So just go all in. Don't be dangerous, but just have your heart out there. Be curious.
Thank you. As the common theme there is to have an open mind, I think, and to just be open to these experiences. So I thank you for saying that loud and clear. Yes, Quentin.
I just wanted to say that there's a really great book that Maya Angelou wrote about her experience in Ghana. And it's a book called All God's Children Need Traveling Shoes. And it's really a great, I'm just listening to Ariana talk about, about that experience as well. And it's just an amazing book that will help you. And I mean, just listening to you, Ariana, and to the other students, this the cultural competence and cultural awareness and sensitivity has been, kind of, I can hear it coming from you, and that's wonderful to hear. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Quentin. And this will be my last question, and I invite our audience to share any if you have any. And that is, what did you learn about yourself as a result of this experience? Michaela, would you like to begin?
Okay. I would like to say I learned how independent I actually was, because like before this, I would have said, sure, I'm an independent person. Actually going abroad, and I went abroad by myself. No one from my school went with me. I was the only one. I definitely learned how to step into my own. I would walk, get groceries by myself, walk around the neighborhood, take the U-Bahn, which was our little train system, just to go places by myself. And that definitely freaked my mom and my godmother out. They were like, are you sure you're okay traveling by yourself? Berlin is actually one of the safest places ever. Like, in comparison to where I'm from, taking public transportation by myself is fine. So I kind of leaned into that, going places by myself, but like keeping aware, definitely like realizing where I am, how far I am from campus, that sort of thing. But it made me want to be more independent, because where I am at home, I'm definitely not in walking distance to kind of go places, and that actually kind of bummed me out. Like, that was the one thing I was going to miss from being abroad, actually having that independence to go wherever, just know that I was going to be fine, kind of stepping into my own.
Thank you, Michaela. I would add resilience to that as well, just getting there and all that you had to go through just to get there. It's another trait that you have certainly exhibited. Thank you for sharing. Ariana, would you like to answer that question?
I just wanted to add kudos to Michaela and Markel. I didn't have the COVID-19 experience, so kudos to you guys for still pushing it and like go to your program. I would say I love that question because I learned myself because I went abroad. I learned my true self. And it's because once I went to Ghana, I know that everybody kept talking about there's a peace in Ghana, there's a freedom in Ghana that you've never experienced before. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? But when I got there, I experienced exactly what everyone was saying. And just having peace of mind and freedom, and everyone just, they're on a hustle, but it's almost as if it's a hustle of gratitude. Every day, like some of the aunties I met in Ghana, that's what we refer to them as. Some of the aunties I met, I'll see them sleeping outside, and they would wake up and work with the most greatest attitude ever. And just being surrounded by that, it literally causes you to become that. So me having peace of mind and freedom, I feel like in the US, I'm always at work mode. What's the next move? What's so ambitious that I never took the time to say, who am I? What do I want to do with my life? What's the next steps? And when I went to Ghana, I found out who I was created to be, what I'm good at, what I love doing, what I can see myself doing for the rest of my life. And I think that, having the ability to say, yes, I studied abroad with CIEE in West Africa, that was great. But then the fact that I found myself was even more rewarding. So I learned who I am from studying abroad.
Beautiful. I'm going to steal that. That just sums it up beautifully. Thank you. Markel.
Seeing that I am still studying abroad, I guess I can't answer that question fully, but I'll use my other study abroad experiences to talk about it. Definitely perseverance and independence, but even some negatives. I learned that I can kind of be a little lazy sometimes. And I learned that I could kind of procrastinate. So you learn a lot. You learn a lot, and sometimes you don't realize it until after you come home and you get back into your home setting, and you're like, oh, I, I didn't notice I did this until I had to step out of it. But even more than learning about yourself, I know that was a question, but you learn about the U.S. You learn about like your parents, your family, your people. You learn about, especially being Black, you learn about racism is not the same in every place. It's very different. It can be very subtle here, it can be very blatant here. You learn how people interact. You learn about like different type of cultural aspects and cultural norms that can be seen disrespectful or like traditions. Like I remember when I was in Bulgaria, I never ate dinner at the host at the table. And when I first got there, and I was not eating with my family. They thought it was disrespectful and inappropriate. And I was like, well, back home, I only eat at the table for Thanksgiving and Christmas. And it was like a thing that we learned. It's like, oh well, I'm sorry, we didn't know that. We thought everybody had a table. Like, no, not me. We kind of go in our own rooms, and because we all work at different times. So you'll learn a lot of things, and take it all in. Because I always say that when you study abroad, I feel like that's when you grow. You only grow in uncomfortable situations. So yeah.
That's well said. And I also really appreciate your point about a lot of the learning happens when you get back too, and you've had just some time to process, all that's happened. So that's the end of my questions. I don't see any additional questions, but we'll give folks a moment if they just want to pose any. But in closing, would any of you like to share anything with anyone who may be watching this or the recording?
Congratulations for getting the 1,500 grant, and make sure you use it, take advantage of it, because it's a lot of people who don't have that opportunity.
Perfect. Thank you. I will say the same. Congratulations. Thank you to our wonderful panelists. It's always a pleasure to hear you and feel your energy, and you remind me why I do what I do. So I thank you for sharing your stories and your advice with the folks who are watching this. Thank you, Papa Q. Quentin, did you want to share anything?
You're most welcome. It's just wonderful listening to Ariana, Makel, and Michaela. It's, the pandemic hit us all really hard. And I remember Makel's journey trying to get to Lisbon. And so, and then also, as Stacey said, it's just so heartwarming to listen and hear, with regards to the growth that's taken place and how your lives have been impacted in such a wonderful way. So I want to encourage you to keep reaching out and encouraging, more underrepresented students to be studying abroad, because it's just, it's life-changing. But thanks, Stacey. It was wonderful to be part of this this session as well. Thank you for asking me to join.
I'm so glad you were here. Thank you again, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thanks, Stacey.